Hello.
I'm Nair.
And I'm Bello.
And we are Perspeculative.
And today we're going to be doing a Holey nostalgia.
On Inuyasha.
So we've done a few of these Holey nostalgias.
You guys seem to like them. We do too.
Yeah. The fact that we don't remember is not holding us back from doing the video.
Especially me. Well, not necessarily in this one. Usually it's me, but this time it's Bello because it's been a longer time since she has watched it than it's been for me.
Yeah. And I think I finished it years and years and years ago.
At least what was out at that point.
And then I watched it again maybe 10 years ago. But I'm not sure how far in I got.
Yeah. She hasn't watched the final season. I have.
Possibly. I don't think I have.
Well, it was only in Japanese for a while. And it came out a while after the whole rest of it came out. So I don't know if you would have seen it or not. If you watched it that long ago. So, Bello, I guess you should say what you remember, and then I'll try to tell you if you were right and what I remember.
Alright, guys, so Inuyasha, this is a classic. And by classic, I mean it came out a long time ago. So, obviously, dog demon guy, half human, hates that he's human, hates being the younger brother. She is a shrine maiden, granddaughter of a long line of shrine maidens, falls down a well. She's the reincarnation of
Kikyo.
Kagome. Okay.
Her name's Kagome.
Yes, and the Sacron jewel? The jewel breaks. Inuyasha gets off the tree somehow. I don't know how they end up starting adventuring together. She somehow gains control over him with a necklace. And she can make him sit like a dog collar. And then they meet the little fox boy and Kilala. And she has a giant boomerang. The rider of Kilala. And Pervy Monk, who is my fave.
Really?
And
oh my god. And you make fun of my favorite.
Whatever. Oh, and then there's Sesshomaru, who's not as good as Inuyasha. And he's basically a psychopath. And the little goblin guy, who he treats horribly. And then the human girl. They go on adventures, trying to get the jewel shards back from demons that get all supercharged because they get the jewels. Oh, and the hot wolf guy. I remember him. Yeah, he runs fast. Yeah.
Because of the shards in his legs.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you remember any of the adventures or anything like that?
I remember there's a millipede lady and a spider lady. And there's the guy with the moths or bees in his face. Or something.
I don't remember.
He starts with the N.
Oh, Naraku?
Yeah, Naraku.
Oh, yeah, that's right. He does have those wasp-like things that are like his little minions and find them and
yeah, and he
like
has
that.
like 100 demons in his body, and you find out he was like dying or something, and they patched him up with a million demons or something. I can't remember.
Okay. Anything else you remember? And I'll try to remember all that you said and tell you what's right and wrong.
Yeah, no, that's it.
Okay. Kagome actually is kind of tricked by Inuyasha into letting him down off the tree and taking the arrow out. I don't know if he says something to her or she just feels bad for him and thinks he's a good guy and doesn't know what's going on and just takes the arrow out to try to help him out. But he's all like, ha, 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 you have released me.
Of course.
Of course, because he's so evil. Anyway, he does have the necklace, but I think he has it on before and she can activate it because she's the reincarnation of Kikyo. But I'm not positive. When you said the demons, it was actually that Naraku became obsessed with Kikyo because she saved him. He was all jacked up. And he allowed like 100 or 1,000 or however many demons to kind of consume him and take his soul, as it were, to become vibrant again. To become not all jacked up. And to gain the power to be able to win Kikyo over. And he tries to break up Inuyasha and Kikyo.
And that's why he stole the jewel. Pretending to be Inuyasha. Yeah. That's right. I remember that. Yeah.
And that's one of those instances, guys, that I'm kind of like, just say it. Just say it. Instead of being like, no, you don't understand. I don't have it. What are you talking about? Like, just say, I don't have the jewel. Like, it's not on me. I've been here all day. You know what I mean? I feel like that could have been resolved while she was trying to shoot at him instead of him just being like that. There's a word for that, I'm pretty sure. Or a trope of that. I think it's all idiots or something like that. That basically, if they ever thought about something more than 2 seconds, that the plot would not have happened as it happened.
Well, I think how I'm going to justify this is not just easy writing, convenient writing for plot reasons. When we fear and expect for something to happen for a very long time, I think it's easy in the height of emotions to believe it's finally happened. Just like somebody who is afraid of their partner cheating and constantly worries about it, and then the minute their partner does something that
might be construed as that.
Exactly. That to them is a pattern of suspicion, but to their partner, they have no connection at all with cheating, like forgetting their phone at home. But then in the height of passion, the other person who has been expecting this all along convinces themselves exactly that I knew this was going to happen, I'm so dumb, and jumps to that conclusion immediately before the other person can explain. So I think that sort of excuses the trope because she was expecting him to turn and be an actual demon the whole time.
And not only that, she literally sees Inuyasha, because Naraku looks like him, have the jewel. So I get that she thinks it. And then for Inuyasha, he expects no one to accept him as a half-demon, and that humans will always reject him. So it's kind of like, oh, of course. But he's still clueless as to why she's doing what she's doing, like what's happening, because he obviously knows that he does not have the jewel. So, yeah. And it's sad because this is one of the only people he's ever let in, and
the only time he accepted that he was half human and was willing to become all human for her. And yeah, I think that's a big part of why later with Kagome, he hates his human half so much, because he almost gave it all up and became full human for Kikyo. And then she betrayed him because he doesn't know that she saw him with the jewel. He just thinks the jewel went missing, and she blamed him because he's a demon around. Just when he thought she wasn't judging him for his...
he was accepted.
His race, his whatever you want to call it. She turned around and did it anyway, just like everybody else,
Yeah.
And confirmed
really
all
sad.
His preconceived fears of not ever being accepted.
Yeah, it really sucked a lot.
And you see that a lot in a lot of things that examine half races, just like in Drow and Human, as far as like Drizzt goes.
Yeah. As far as Shishomaru goes, his servant's name is Jockin, and he does get better to him. As I've told you guys, I think he has the best, biggest character arc. Because as Bello said, he starts out seemingly having very few emotions, and those that he displays tend to be negative. Well, he's jealous. That's an emotion. He gets
That's like
kind
a
of
sub-emotion. Kind of angry. I will kill you now. I have no...
Well, but he's so calm about it.
I am the easiest thing for my animators to animate. The hair is the most complicated part.
And it's always blowing.
Exactly. No facial expression change, but my hair will always blow.
And the fur on his little outfit there, it always blows. So they got a little bit of work to put in. But yeah, he's very stoic, which I like. And I don't like him at the beginning. It's not like I went, oh, this bad guy. Yeah, I like this guy.
Well, there's a difference between being stoic and being sociopath.
Well, he gets better, and to be fair to him, he's a full demon. And being human and having those feelings and emotions and all of that is weakness. And in a world where you're living with demons and they're out to get you and you have a target on your back, that's not a place you want to be. You don't want to be weak. You don't want to have those things. I mean, he is very strong compared to the other one, so he can get away with it a good bit, which he does with Rei, I believe is her name. So, and with him, like, once he meets her and he starts basically raising her, he really does gain a lot of emotions and changes the way he thinks about the world and what's important, and sees what his father was talking about the whole time that he had been upset over from the beginning and been jealous of Inuyasha about the whole time that we've seen him. So, he really does grow. Inuyasha does too. He does eventually kind of accept himself and what he is and who he is as he is. And that is a big thing too. It's just I feel like Shishomaru's was more and just a bigger arc. And he goes about it in a more smooth way instead of fighting it as much as Inuyasha was. But we've talked about all that before. I remember it's very villain of the week. It is definitely made to be watched one episode per week because it's kind of repetitive. And to binge watch it, which we're going to do.
I think that's a common theme in a lot of 90s anime. The way we grew up, it's set up around commercial breaks. It's set up around a new episode comes out each week or each day. And also, that's back when things were hand-drawn. They didn't have a computer to speed up the animation process. Not like they do now. Not to the extent they do now, anyway.
Yeah. Because I loved Inuyasha. I really, really did. I loved the movies. I loved all of it. And going back and watching, because I didn't watch the final season either for a long time after I'd watched the initial. So I went back to, I believe, the 4th season and watched a little bit of that and made sure I'd actually finished that and then watched the final act. And the final act I felt like was paced much faster than the original show. Part of that probably being because it wasn't as old as it wasn't. Like, it wasn't...
It didn't come out in the same time period. Like,
and they weren't considering the same things anymore. Like it being a weekly thing, I guess. And they probably just wanted to finish up the story in one season and get it done with because it has been going on for a long time now. I did really like the final season. I like how it all ended. And I think Bello would appreciate Shishomaru more once she finishes the show. I remember there being lots of different demons, but some of them are kind of similar as you go along.
Yeah, I think that was part of the allure of any fantasy anime. Anyone who's interested in fantasy anime, I think that's a big draw, is seeing and discovering new powers, new monsters, things that come out of the artist's imagination and pull you into the artist's world, whether that's a nightmare or a haven. It depends on the artist and the author, and I think we've touched on that quite a bit, especially in like Attack on Titan. That they really pull you into their nightmare and make it very real and consider a lot of very real situations, like what would really happen if people were thrown into this situation and this really happened. How would people act, Sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. But yeah, I think that that's probably one of my favorite things about fantasy in general.
Hold on one second, because I don't remember what I rated Inuyasha. I have to rely on my anime list to remember what I rated stuff. I don't know what I would have rated it as a kid. Probably would have rated it a 9 or something, 10. Like some of the movies especially where Kagome and Inuyasha are finally like finding their love, trusting each other, and like showing the affection. And of course then they're not canon as we've said, so that, and then him going back and forth with Kikyo, which is like, oh. But
I know, yeah, I do remember that being very frustrated. Oh, the witch that made Kikyo. I do remember that. She made Kikyo out of mud. Yeah.
Wasn't that
her aunt and her bones or something?
Was
her
that
grave mud.
Yeah, was that originally how she was resurrected, or was that like a secondary resurrection? I don't remember.
I think that was the initial resurrection. That was how she got resurrected. I think I remember the first season probably the best because I've probably watched it repetitively. Before trying to rewatch it before getting sidetracked by some new up-and-coming anime or a new book or work, who knows, whatever. And I think that's part of the thing with such a long-standing anime, especially if, like, as you're watching it, you remember what happens as it's happening, because definitely Inuyasha is more fresh for me than probably any of the other Holey nostalgias that we have done.
Oh, very much for me, too. As you can see, because we're remembering a lot of stuff that happened, it is not nearly as Holey as some of our others.
Yeah. There's a little more cheese in this one.
A little more substance. But I rated Inuyasha an 8, as well as the final act an 8, and some of the movies are rated 8, some 7. So I really liked it. I thought it was really good. Going back and watching it again now, especially trying to binge it, especially with the original seasons, I don't know if I'm going to feel like it's very good.
Yeah. I also sort of feel, as far as Inuyasha goes, that again, when I was younger, I probably would have rated it a 10, you know, like those animes growing up, Dragon Ball Z, Sailor Moon.
Oh my goddess.
There wasn't anything else like them either. So a lot of them as kids, like, they're the first one like that ever. So it's all fresh and all brand new, and it all, there's not all these other animes to compare it to where they've pulled from it and made slight variations, and at the time it was original, and you looked forward to it every day after school, couldn't wait for Toonami to come on, you know.
And I will say, too, that kids, at least me as a kid, and what I've seen from other children, is you kind of overlook the flaws. Like, you don't even see the strings hanging from the ceiling to the spaceship. I remember watching Power Rangers. I'm loving Power Rangers. And then I watched, I think it was the first movie where the skeleton dinosaur comes alive. I remember it being so cool and scary and all this stuff. And then you just see the puppet strings and it's just flopping around. And it's just so
The little light bulbs
bad.
in the eyes, yeah.
It was terrible, and I'm sorry for anybody who really loves it still, but going back, it was rough to watch. And I feel like that's going to be not as bad at all, but a similar experience with Inuyasha for me. Going back to the 4th season and trying to watch it, the original series, was hard for me. It was definitely hard. So I don't know how I'm going to be about it, but we shall see.
Well, I think with these childhood animes, you remember them in such rose-colored, rose-colored glasses. They're on a pedestal. They're the gateway into this new genre, and I think that's why they hold such a special place. But then with certain ones, when I try to show them to my kids, if you don't start them on them young, they're like, God, this looks so old. And you can't go from Demon Slayer and then go back and watch Yu Yu Hakusho. And
you can, but the art isn't as good. Some of the voice acting isn't as good.
Exactly. That's what I was going to say. And then still have the same esteem for Yu Yu Hakusho, even though it's amazing.
It's the same as starting with top tier anime and then going to the good, the okay. It's really hard to do that when you start with the best and then work your way down. So sometimes I think it's best to start with the old stuff and kind of go new, but that's hard to do too when it's all right there for you.
Yeah.
I'm glad I was kind of born when I was as far as anime goes, because I got to see the older stuff and appreciate it for what it was and see the evolution of anime and how it inspired other anime and kind of recognize all the nods to the older ones and that kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. Seeing it go from Evangelion or Gundam Wing, some of those, to Eureka 7, and then it evolving into a lot of the mech anime that's more recent and stuff today. I'm trying to think of some modern ones.
I think of Gargantia.
Gurren Lagann.
Yeah, Gurren Lagann.
That's another.
But I think it's Gargantia or something like that, which doesn't have as much time spent on the mecha part of it or the space part of it, but it is in there. So I hope I'm saying that.
And I think part of the reason that they don't have to have as much as that is because people already understand it. There's so many mecha animes now. We don't question the technology behind it. We
now
don't
the question is,
it doesn't have to be explained to us because we've seen 5-10 animes with mechs in it now. Mechs are a very easy concept to understand. It's even bled over into other things. What was I watching the other day? But they strapped in and their minds actually connected with the mech, and it had to have been 2 people to control the mechs. It was an interesting movie, but I was thinking, God, look at how far anime's come. It's come so far, it's in Hollywood now. You know?
Yeah, it's definitely become more mainstream for sure. And I kind of want to say something that I thought of that's kind of a modern mech, but I don't necessarily want to spoil it for Bello, but I will say AOT. Some people argue that's a mechu. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
All right. Anyway, we have definitely gone down the rabbit hole of 90s animes and mechs, But yeah, so that's the basic Swiss cheese for you on our Inuyasha. Look for part 2. It'll be coming up
in the near future. All right, guys. Well, I guess that's it. I know we went off on some tangents like we normally do.
Yeah, so let us know if we've made any grievous mistakes, anything we left out, anything you're looking forward to us remembering as we go back through. And we'll see you soon for part 2.
All right. Bye, guys.
See you later.